Let's talk about decorators in Python. Decorators allow us to extend the functionality of the function being decorated. And the word decorator is actually quite fitting because similar to the way you can decorate a Christmas tree with more Christmas lights, you can also decorate a function with more functionality. The first thing that you expect to see when we talk about decorators is some definition of a function, and above that we have an @ and some decorator name. And we will see this notation in just a moment, but before we do, consider the following functions. We're going to define a function called regular, and it takes no arguments, and all it does is print out the sentence regular function executed. In addition, I'm going to define the function decorator, and it is going to take a function as an argument, and since we will be passing in the regular function, let me just write regular as the argument name. And this function we've just defined is going to return a call to a function called wrapper. And now, between the function definition and the return statement, we're going to define the function wrapper. And it is going to have a print statement that prints wrapper function executed, and it is going to return a call to the function being passed in as an argument. Now, if I create a call to the decorator function and pass in the regular function, you will see that it will say in the console output that the wrapper function is executed, and afterwards the regular function is executed. This happens because when we call the decorator function, we first return a call to the wrapper function, which executes the first print statement wrapper function executed, and afterwards we return a call to the regular function, which prints out regular function executed. Now, if we were to remove the brackets that come after the wrapper in the return statement, we would not be returning a call to the wrapper function anymore, but instead we would be returning the function itself. So when I execute this now, you can see that nothing is printed in the console. If I want the same result as before, I would need to create a new variable name, for example, regular_decorated, and save the function to this variable by setting it equal to decorator and then in parentheses regular. And now I can call the regular_decorated function, and you'll see the result will be the same as before. And now comes the point where we actually get to see the decorator notation that I mentioned earlier in this video. Because what I can do here is simply write @decorator above the definition for the regular function and simply call the regular function. So now you can see that I have exactly the same result that I had earlier when I saved the function to a variable and then executed it. So to make that excessively clear to everybody, it doesn't matter if I use the decorator and a simple call to the function, as I am doing right here, or if instead I get rid of the decorator and save the function to a variable and then execute the function. The results are going to be the same. And you can see this from the console output because it says wrapper function executed, and then it says regular function executed, which is what we had earlier. The next thing I want to show you is that you can actually chain together decorators and use more than one. So for the decorator function that we already have, we're going to add an _1, and in the print statement, we're going to write wrapper function 1 executed. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this decorator function, but now we're going to add an _2, and in the print statement, we're also going to write 2. Finally, above the regular function, we're going to write @decorator_1 and @decorator_2. When I run this now, you will see in the console output that it says wrapper function 2 executed, afterwards wrapper function 1 was executed, and at the very end we had the regular function executed. Now some of you might wonder what the equivalent of this would be if we were to not use any decorators. So let's go ahead and get rid of the decorators and create a new variable name called regular_decorated, which we also used earlier. And we're going to set that equal to decorator2, then within brackets decorator1, and then within brackets regular. In other words, we're passing the regular function into the decorator1 function, and we're then taking all of that and passing that into the decorator2 function. And since all of this returns a function, which I'm saving into the regular_decorated variable, I can then go ahead and execute it by writing regular underscore decorated and then parentheses. If I now go ahead and execute this, you can see that the result stays exactly the same as it was before. The last thing that I want to go into is how we can use decorators if we're dealing with functions that take arguments. So let me paste back in what we had earlier when we had the decorator function and the regular function. But now in the regular function, we're going to add an argument arg, and we're going to print out regular function executed with arg, and then we're also going to add the argument as a string that we're passing in. So let's see what happens when I execute this decorated regular function by creating a call to the function and passing in the argument test, for example. You can see that I get an error in the console, and it says that the wrapper takes 0 positional arguments but 1 was given. So it doesn't like that I've added an argument to the regular function. So let's see how we can adjust the decorator function to make it account for a variable number of arguments that we pass in. To account for any number of arguments that I'm passing into this function, I can use star args and star quargs. And I'm going to add that to the wrapper function and in the return statement to the function down here. Now I do want to mention that you don't necessarily need to use the names args and quargs, but what you do need to use is the 1 star and the 2 stars over here. But now when I execute this again, you will see in the console output it will say wrapper function executed and then regular function executed with the argument test that we passed into the function call.